So today I'm about to try flotation therapy. Um, I'm slightly terrified, but we'll see how this goes. So I waited till I got outside to spray my spray and put my lotions and things on, just in case someone had an allergy on the inside. So I'm gonna head home and I'll do my recap there. I would definitely do this again. I don't know if I'd come back here, but more on that later. I'm going to go home and fix myself up. I've just moisturized and that's about it. So I'll see you in a bit. This is much better. So now I'm gonna tell you about the overall experience having flotation therapy. So where should I start? From the beginning, I guess. I'll give you a little kind of overview background on the benefits of flotation therapy and exactly what it is, because maybe some of you don't know. So flotation therapy involves sensory deprivation. So you go into a tank or a pod, and I'll explain the difference between the two in just a sec. But you go into a tank or a pod that is covered, the bottom of it is covered with about 10 inches of salt water and like hundreds of pounds of magnesium. Salt is dissolved into the water, so basically Epsom salt. And they dissolve so much of it into the water so that you are guaranteed to float. So think the Dead Sea. If you've heard of the Dead Sea, how it's easy to float there because of the salt content. Well, they recreate that environment in a controlled setting with only about 10 inches of water. So if you can't swim, don't worry too much about it. Although you might be a little bit apprehensive in the beginning, but just try to relax and it'll be okay. And honestly, I'm freaked out by like floating on my back in a pool. But it actually surprisingly didn't take long for me to settle in. And I even, decided not to use the neck float that they give you to keep your head. I mean, your head's gonna stay above water, but if you're like me and you're just like, I don't trust this, they have that so that you have a float that is guaranteed to keep your head above water. So anyway, benefits of magnesium. Oh my goodness, so many. So magnesium is an essential mineral in the body. I think it's a metal, a metal. It's on the periodic table. It's an element, a basic element. On this planet, in life, we have it in our bodies. We need to constantly get more of it or take in more of it. Americans are actually very deficient in magnesium because it's just not in our foods. And the foods that have it, we don't really eat much of, I guess you could say. So supplementation is the number one way of getting it over here. How do you supplement it? So you can take magnesium pills. They have calm supplements, which I actually have. I wish I had next to me. I'd show you what the logo looks like. But just look in the supplement part of your store. They also have topical magnesium, so like a gel or a lotion you can apply to your skin and absorb it through your skin. So why is magnesium so critical to life? It supports just about every bodily function you can think of, including your mental health, including your sleep. If you're an insomniac, try supplementing with magnesium, but do it maybe like an hour or two before bed. 9 times out of 10, it'll help you wind down and sleep more easily. I've actually done that because I'm more active at night. And it actually worked. I could do another video on what my experience in using the Calm magnesium supplement was like. But it does help you, it rests your mind, it helps you sleep deeper, sleep better, go to sleep more easily. And it's not a drug. So what it does, like I said, most of us are deficient in magnesium. If you do have a deficiency, that could be contributing to your insomnia. So it basically raises your levels to where they should be so that your nervous system can calm down as it should normally if you were properly, if you were, if your nutrition were all the way together, basically. So they dissolve magnesium into the water. It's great for your skin. I don't know if you've noticed after an Epsom salt bath, your skin is always better. It looks better. It feels better. At least mine does. It helps calm you down. You are absorbing the magnesium through your skin as well. Supports your nervous system, so magnesium actually aids in the absorption of calcium. They work hand in hand. So if you are calcium deficient, you likely also need to supplement with magnesium as well. Women are often calcium deficient, so something to keep in mind. In addition to a whole bunch of other, bodily functions that I can't think of right now, but I will probably insert a screenshot of a list. But like just about anything you can think of. Hormone balance supported by magnesium. All of it basically. So, having said that, you soak in your magnesium, or you don't really, you float. So, you arrive, you either choose the flotation tank or the pod. Now, the tank is, probably better for you if you're claustrophobic. It's like a walk-in freezer size space, which really still may not work for you if you're claustrophobic, but if you think you can handle that, try it. Also, I will add that once you're in the water and on your back, the room feels a lot bigger, believe it or not, because you're like floating. Ideally, well, let me finish describing the settings first. So if you choose the tank usually has like a 6 foot, 7 foot ceiling. So everyone can fit in there just about. Mine at the place I went to today had a 7 foot ceiling. And how wide is it? They tell you the measurements. So it's probably like 7 feet by 6 feet, 5 feet. It's big enough for you to be able to like lie down and spread out, and you won't necessarily touch all the walls. Although if you are like 6'8", you might touch the walls. Maybe just barely. I don't know. So, and also you don't have to lie with your hands out. Most people have their arms above their head. You can see the shadow of my hand. For me, I found the most comfortable position was with my hands directly behind my back, like I'm resting, which is what you're supposed to be doing. And that was very peculiar because most people, like say that it's very relaxing on their muscles and bones and joints and things. So for me, that was what I noticed when I got in the water. So I'm gonna have to back up actually and tell you about the experience before and then getting into the water, but let me just insert this. When I got into the water, it felt like my muscles actually got sore and tense, especially my neck, like right here. It was very strange. But I'll get into why I think that happened in a sec. So getting into the water, well, before, so you arrive, they give you like a quick orientation. Most places have so I forgot about the pod. So most places have a tank or a pod. The pod is actually smaller, and it's like, I don't want to like use the word coffin, but it's like a case that you can, but you don't have to close the lid on. I'm not into all that, so if you're not into all that, it's cool. The case is in a room, and you can leave the lid open, and there's still like enough room. Again, you get the 10 inches of water on the bottom, you're floating in it, and you should have room to spread out your arms and legs in the case. I didn't see the pod. I booked the suite. I was gonna book the pod. Actually, for a brief second, I thought about booking the pod, but then I booked the suite. I did some more reading up on it, and I was like, I think I would prefer something I can like just walk into and stand up and all that stuff and have more space when listening to freak out over. Also, so my friend actually kind of gave me the courage / idea to really try it. And she took a photo. She actually went to one of the pods. She's in Atlanta. She did the pod, and so that's why I was thinking of the pod. Because I knew of someone who had done it, and they like it. So Whatever. I ended up doing the suite. The suite is generally recommended for first timers because again, you don't get as claustrophobic of a feeling if you're into that. You have more room basically. So you get there, they give you the quick orientation. Most places have the suites, the pod, and like a room with like where you can blow dry and like put on lotion and stuff like that, and a place where you can like have tea after. So you change in the room. It's private. So like you close the door, whether you choose the pod or the suite, you come in, close the door. There's space for you to, there's like towels. There's space for you to take your clothes off and leave your stuff like on a bench or something in the room. It's private. It's just you in there. Even if you bring someone with you, it'll just be you in there because only one person can fit in even like the flotation suites. At most places, they may make them bigger. Um, but standard is, yeah, like one person can fit in there from what I've gathered through my research and experience today. So, yeah, like you go into your space, there's also a shower in the room, which this is where it got kind of leery because like the lady walks in and I'm wearing my shoes from the street, she's wearing her shoes, and she's just like walking around and the floor is the same. Like there's just the shower behind a little glass, and then there's the flotation suite on the other side, like behind the wall, like the door to the suite goes into the wall, kind of like it's built into the wall sort of deal, if that makes sense. Um, so I gotta do my nails. So, yeah, the flotation suite. Oh no, so first you take a shower. That's to rinse off any oils, butters, lotions, slippery stuff, whatever, just like you're supposed to be pure. So, which leads me to another thing, what you wear to one of these. So I was gonna wear a swimsuit because like if you watch YouTube, the people wear swimsuits, but they recommend you don't wear anything at all. And on YouTube, they generally wear the swimsuits just because they're filming, but they recommend nude because no one's gonna be looking at you, even though I do think there are cameras in those rooms. That's something else. So no one's gonna be looking at you in theory. You don't have to walk out to get dressed or anything like that. So, and also clothes actually take away from the sensory deprivation because touch is a sense, and if you can feel something on your body, it disrupts like it's supposed to transport your mind to a peaceful place. Um and you're still kind of connected to like the here and now if you can feel clothes and things like that, and even the flotation pillow. um but they recommend it your first time doing it just in case you're like afraid that your head won't float, which it will, but you know that fear is still there for a lot of us. So you go, you take your clothes off, you shower. I mean, I guess it's okay that you can wear your shoes in there and everybody wears their shoes in there because like the floor is the same, and this is from like living in Vietnam. The bathrooms, traditional bathrooms, are that way so that they can just shower and wash down the whole floor, including like the area you walk in. So I guess that's okay. Um so I went with it. I did whatever. I took my shower and then got in there. Like I don't know that I rinsed my hair off well enough because it I still felt like butters and stuff coming off of it when I was floating. But whatever. So you have to hold on because the magnesium makes the floor slippery. So there's handles on like the door and the sides of the door, like the doorway. But the lights start off on, and it's all motion detector. So the lady told me I think the light in the room, there's like a normal light in the room, kind of like an exam room type of light, bright light, goes off after 2 minutes automatically. But if you open the door to the flotation chamber, it comes back on because of the motion. So now you're like ready to enter the flotation chamber. You open the door and you just basically step in. And if you have a pod, I can't really speak to that because I didn't do the pod, but presumably you just like step into the pod because it lifts, the door lifts from the top. Um, so, and you should have room to sit up inside of a pod. I forgot about that. You can't stand up, but you should be able to sit up even with it closed. Haven't seen one in real life, so I can't really give you more than just like that info that I've, gathered from my research. So inside the pod, I left the door open because I read that, like, if you're afraid you might be claustrophobic, leave the door open. You can do that the whole time if you want. And I think the light in the room stays on if you leave the door open. So if you've got, issues about the darkness or feeling closed in, you can do that. You can do whatever you want from that point on and just like enjoy the flotation, because what it does is it realigns your spine because it creates a zero gravity type of situation. And that's why I believe I felt sore. So like it decompresses your spine, and I always have muscle knots, like chronic muscle knots in my neck, my shoulders, upper back, between the shoulder blades. And I believe the pressure was being released from those points, those trigger points. And so, like, kind of like when you get a massage, how it's sore, it hurts. I think that's what I was probably experiencing. Like, my arms hurt kind of when I put them down, like by my legs. So I had to raise them up. And I felt tired, like I was like doing work, like lifting them when I'd raise them up over my head, as I'm floating on my back. So the best way, and also my neck was hurting. So the best, most comfortable position for me was putting my hands behind my head. Somehow my neck felt more supported, even though like I wasn't lifting my head up at all. I was just like relaxing into the water. It took a point to get there though. So I stepped into the chamber. It was very slippery. I just sat down in the water and tried to lie down. I was like freaking out at this point because, again, I don't like to back float when I'm at the pool. So I'm holding on to like just the side ledge that you step on to get in there, and and trying to like ease onto my back. And so I stayed like that for like maybe 5 minutes, and then I was like, okay, we can relax a little. Let's try just, you know what? I realized that would be okay if I closed the door at that point. So I closed the door, realized there's a handle, that's easier to hold on to than the ledge. So I closed the door and held on to the handle. I'm on my back. Inside the pod, there are these kind of like neon LED type bluish, purplish lights, at the bottom of the tub. And that creates enough light so that it's not completely dark. So you have a button to push to turn the lights on or off. They also have spa type music that you can turn on or off with another button. You can turn it up or down. But as you remove those different stimuli, the light and the light and the music, that creates the sensory deprivation. So I freaked out because I started reading about it the night before and heard that people were having like psychosis and stuff. Not everyone, but like some people might have like hallucinate while they're in there, and I'm not about that life. So I was like, let me stay attached to reality and leave these lights and the music on originally. And so I did that, and eventually I got comfortable enough to let go of the door handle because I felt that my head was staying above water, my body was floating perfectly, and I didn't have to lean my head back like you do in a pool. It was fine and it was comfortable. So I was like, okay, progress. So I got comfortable just floating, and then gradually I was like, well, let's try it with the lights off. So I sat up. Also, I recommend practicing opening and closing the door. This door just opened just by pushing it open, which was great. Made me feel a lot better. No latch or anything I had to deal with to manipulate to get out of there. Also, I practiced sitting up because I'm weird about like buoyancy and stuff, and putting my feet down in shallow water. Like, well, it's easy in shallow water, but like I was, like I wanted, with the bottom being slippery, I wanted to know the exact steps I would have to take to sit up comfortably, to get out of the water, whatever I needed to do. So I practiced that. So I sat up, and then I sat right by the buttons and turned the lights off and just saw how dark it gets. Definitely gets completely, totally dark. And I tried to feel what that would be like, and it freaked me out a little bit because I immediately started thinking about like spiritual stuff, and I'm like, what if like bad stuff is in here? Or what if I start hallucinating and think, I see or hear something that freaks me out. So I immediately turned the light back on. And after that, what did I do? So I just relaxed on my back and calmed down. And then I said, you know what if I got to the point where I was comfortable enough turning the lights off but leaving the music on. So my rationale was, if I remain connected to the music, then like the hallucination and stuff won't start, because I know where I am. I'm at the flotation center listening to music, and that actually worked. I felt fine. And that was a different experience. The room felt bigger. The weird thing is that, like, even in complete darkness, at first I felt like I was looking up at a night sky. It looked like the sky with stars in it, kind of like subtly. And then when I closed my eyes, it felt like I could, like, the light in the room was changing. You know how, like, if you close your eyes and dim the lights, you can tell, kind of. Felt like that a little bit, but like, I was in total, like, the room was totally dark, so there was no changing light or anything. That was in the mind, I guess. One thing I will note, my eyes felt like they were relaxing, and even right now, like, my eyes don't feel any strain, even though I'm up late, I'm on computers and things at all times of night. Like, my eyes feel no strain. And I remember lying back thinking, well, I hope this improves my vision, because I'm slightly nearsighted. My nose itches. So I was like, yeah, it'd be great if this improves my vision, because my eyes just felt so good. Like, everything, like all the eye strain and eye stress, and even like the nearsightedness, I'll say, felt like I'm like staring across the room to see if my vision's any better, but felt like it was all being reversed, and it felt great. In addition to that, I don't know, like, I kept the first, I tried to like pay attention to what came to mind, and I would think about like, I thought about myself a lot and how I use rational thought to dismantle fear. And it was like I kept kind of like maybe involuntarily, like reminding myself, or maybe it was spiritual and God, reminding myself, you're reminding me, you're rational, you don't panic, you use rational thought to dismantle panic and to avoid it, and it serves you well, and that's a good thing, it's who you are, and you're gonna be fine in here, and all that stuff. So I felt better. Although at one point, I did think about, so like later in the session, so I did that, and with the lights off, I kept thinking, like, imagining myself in a lake in a backyard that I own. Like, my backyard had a lake in it, and I felt comfortable in the lake, and it was night, and there were lights outside, like outdoor lighting, and I was just like lying back, relaxing in my lake. Like, that's what popped into mind. And so I liked that thought, so I just went with it. And the funny thing is, I don't do lakes. I don't swim in lakes. I don't like natural bodies of water like that. Like, I'll wade in the ocean, but like lakes freak me out. But for some reason it was like comfortable and familiar and just like felt good. And so that was kind of like my kind of peaceful thought. And so in addition to that, like, so the thought of like being in the middle of the ocean, like, on a raft or something, after you've like survived a plane crash or been shipwrecked or something like that, just like in the middle of the ocean, and especially at night by yourself, that freaks me out. Um, but I kept hearing a motor running, and I don't know if it was in my mind or if it was like some equipment at the center, which I meant to tell them about that but didn't. I kept hearing that, and I was just like when I would hear it, I kind of like envision myself in the middle of the ocean. It wasn't nighttime, but in the middle of the ocean, and it was like the sound of like a boat, or a ship, like a fishing boat or something. But I'm like in the water, even though I can't necessarily see myself in the water, and I didn't feel freaked out by it at all. Um, and even then, like, I tried to imagine it being nighttime, and like couldn't. um, but yeah, so like, I read that for some people, they feel like it's impossible for them to panic when they're in the flotation room. And I guess that's maybe like a bit of what it was. I was kind of trying to test that out. But I it went way better than I thought it would because I started reading all this stuff the night before last night. And I was like, well, I don't want any of this stuff to happen. What if it like actually does stuff to people and or like their mind and like they don't come out the same but in a bad way. Um but I was fine. And so then I experimented with, so I turned the light back on. I was like, okay, that's enough of that. Turned the light back on, went back to relaxing, and I was like, but I want more of an experience than this. So I turned the music off but left the lights on. And I think that was even more relaxing because I could close my eyes. And one thing I'll note, like even with the music and the lights on, with the lights on, that's the only way you can see it. As soon as I'd open my eyes, the whiteness of the room, because it's all white, would kind of blur together and look like a cloud. But that effect only lasted for like half a second. So when I turned the music off, it was a kind of, I felt like that was a deeper experience. Because I could close my eyes, and even if I didn't, I don't know, I could kind of like forget where I was a little bit more. So I turned off the music, and that was when I started thinking about like, well, I bet people do a bunch of spiritual stuff in here. What if there's somebody else's spiritual junk in here and it's in here with me? Because I was considering turning off both the music and the lights because I was feeling more comfortable. I didn't get there to that point. Maybe next session, probably in another 2 sessions, I might be able to try that. But I was just like thinking about that stuff, and then like all of a sudden I felt calm, and it occurred to me, well, like, no, this is like you and Jesus booked this session, so it's just the two of y'all in here. Um and whatever spiritual entities other people are dealing with and dragging along with them and like being followed by like whatever other people got going on, that's not in here because this is you and Jesus, and you booked this space for this time, and so you two are in here. And that seemed perfect. I mean, like, like that seemed, I don't want to say that seemed, I mean, yeah, like, I was like, okay, yeah, 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 we reserve this time. And so then, after that, like adding on to that thought, I kind of remembered, well, and even so, Jesus arrived here before you did, and he's not going to have any weird stuff in here before you come in here, so just, you're fine. You're fine. And I was fine, and I went back to floating, and I left the music off, and then I got really hungry. Now, here's a tip. Do not go in there hungry. They say eat a light meal, eat a light snack or something like that, or a light meal. I had some yogurt. It wasn't enough. I even had high protein yogurt. Wasn't enough. If you feel even the slightest bit hungry, you're going to feel really hungry. So everything, like, every sense you experience, sensation, whatever, is magnified. So, like, I had my hand, like, floating above my head, and, like, I brushed against my hair, and I was like, what was that? Like, that's how everything is. It's like, what was, like, oh, it's just the wall. Okay. But hunger is magnified. Don't do any drugs. I don't do drugs or anything like that. Don't drink and don't do drugs before you go there. Like, really, really don't, because, like, you might, like, bend your mind in some ways that you don't want to, and they, like, actually, you sign a waiver saying you're not going to do that before you go because it could go very badly. Because this is kind of like I don't want to say mind bending, but it's something we're not used to here in Western culture. And it can kind of take you to some places. I guess. I don't want to say that like that. Like, it is kind of a mental exercise and like a spiritual and, like a the way people describe it is like, when they do the total sensory deprivation with the music and the lights off, is like you feel like you can't tell where the water ends and you begin, and vice versa. So it's one of those sort of like you feel kind of transcendent or whatever, even though you're still floating in a tank. But that can do something, like you think about some stuff, and like it's a mental exercise. So if you're on something, like, that could be very bad. So in addition to that, and like if you read, like, you'll see some people who like really people who do use drugs, and like they did kind of like have it got a bit intense for them. So yeah, so I was really hungry. At one point I started to not enjoy the session because I was so hungry. And then I felt tired after a while, and then I felt hot. And then I was just lying there and I was like, okay, where's the dude with the Native American pan flute? Because that's how the lady described it. She's like, at the end of the session, there will be Native American pan flute music and a man's voice, and he'll tell you to wiggle your toes, wiggle your toes. So I was like, okay, now where's this man in the Native American pan flute? And so as soon, like literally as soon as I said that, the pan flute music started. I was like, is this the music? And then the dude started talking, and I was like, okay, I'm out of here. And I just kind of got out and like took my shower and got ready and to go head back out and whatever. Things I didn't like about this place: the dude at the desk was kind of like brosy, surfery dude, more of a brosy type of guy. And like they're supposed to invite you to have tea and sit in the lounge. Granted, I stayed for like some extra time because like I had to blow dry and stuff like that, but I think you're allowed to do that. And nobody was waiting. So I'll say what I did like. So I was really late getting over there because there was a ton of traffic to that part of town I was in. And the place is in New Jersey, and there was a lot of traffic. And so they let me do the full hour, and I really appreciate that. So the appointments are spaced out due to COVID because they clean in between every single, well, they should usually anyway, but the appointments are like really spaced out. Like there's maybe like 3, 4 a day at the place I went to. So, which I also appreciated because it gives them time to clean thoroughly. And they also use ozone treatment, which kills COVID. I've heard from people who own cleaning companies. So that was great. They were nice. They weren't like, you're late, blah, blah, blah. They were like, oh, first time? Oh, yeah, it's great. Perfect. Let's go. But then when I came out, the dude was like, he's on the phone and he's like, oh, yeah, yeah. I'm like standing there confused. And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I already signed you out. You want some tea? Cause like I turned some water on for you. And it was just like very kind of like, not very relaxing. He wasn't like whispering like we were in a spa. It wasn't soft and gentle. And I don't know, he was just like very brosy, and I didn't appreciate that. I was like, no, I'm good. And I just like left. So that was my experience with flotation therapy. Do ask questions. I don't know what else to add to that. So please do ask questions. I'm going to go again, definitely. After I left, I felt good. I didn't feel like a dramatic difference, but like subtle differences that I began to notice more and more. Funny thing, my stomach and waist felt smaller and flatter and just like snatched, but my legs felt huge. They felt like inverted bowling pins as I was walking, and it felt like my thighs rubbed together more than they normally do. But my waist was like, it felt like snatched. Like, it was weird. I don't know if it really was, but it felt like fighting weight snatched. Like, pre-moving back to America, pre-COVID lockdown, all of that stuff. So I'm definitely gonna go back. My skin felt good. My hair felt really good. It felt really soft, and like I had done a really good deep conditioning treatment. It felt like stretched and elongated. Blow drying was pretty easy. So what else? So I was sore while I was in there, but my muscles did feel looser when I came out. I didn't have any pain. And actually as like the tightness and whatnot returned, I became more aware of like exactly like where I have the pains and how tight my muscles are, and like how my right leg, my right calf, I'd like injured my calf or something. I ran track for a part of one season, and it didn't go very well, and I injured my calf muscle somehow. And like it always tightens up whenever I first start running or walking, like strenuous walking, but then like I get used to it, or it relaxes out or something like that. But I felt that and hadn't noticed that in years, but felt it again today after like all the muscle relaxation kind of wore off, I guess. Cause like I did do like a strenuous walk today. But like I felt good. I still feel good. I'm generally a calm person, but I was like much, like I didn't feel like I was like high, or the way people describe being high. I didn't feel like I was like on anything, but I definitely felt like I was on vacation, if that makes sense. So yeah, I appreciated it. So that's all for now. Let me know if you're interested in flotation therapy. Let me know, I don't know, like, yeah, whatever. Other adventures, like spa type of adventures that you'd be interested in knowing about. I might be into trying them. Because I do go to the Korean spa, which I haven't been able to do due to recent times or whatever. Um, I'm the next thing I'm gonna try is laser treatments, but I got an at home laser hair removal treatments. I got one that I ordered, and I'm gonna be reviewing that. So that should be interesting. If that doesn't work, I'm just gonna go to a center and get it done. But anyway, you guys, so I will talk to you guys again soon. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care, be well, stay clean, stay safe, stay organized. Talk to you soon. Bye now.